Thank you for calling Peppermill Poker. This is Stephanie. How may I help you?
Hi, Stephanie. This is bendeach. I am on Veterans Parkway and requesting to be put on the list.
I will get you on the list, and you were number 3. Hopefully we can get it going in a little bit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so it does appear that the legendary Mr. Z is visiting from Florida for another week. And with him in town, the game is likely to be extremely interesting. So we're going to cruise over there and jump in it. This vlog would not actually start off in Reno, but rather at the Palace of Fine Arts in San Francisco, where a longtime favorite of the vlog invited Anna and I to his wedding with his now wife Leslie. And for those new to the vlog, that man is a man who happens to be named Marco and is from Eastern Europe. And the aforementioned Mr. Z once decided to bestow upon him the nickname Marco from Trupoya.
Oh yeah,
This man. All right, ladies of the vlog, I want you all to know this man's now unavailable. So you'll have to deal with that. It's a sad day. Look at that. Look at that. Marco from Trupoya. Still from Trupoya. Now not a single man from Trupoya. But he will find you.
And he will stack you.
Anyway, I'd get into the game at 10 a.m. and begin tracking the session on the Left Pocket app, which you can get a free month of by using promo code DEACH or going through that QR code. The first hand would come when I look down at King Queen under the gun and make it 30. It would fold all the way around to the big blind, who doesn't give me a lot of action, but in this case would defend. So with 65 in the pot, I'd flop 2 pair on King Queen 10 2 clubs. Big blind checks. I look to build a pot here and bet 35. And sure enough, he doesn't take too long with it and makes the call. So with 135 in, the turn is the 8 of spades. He checks for a second time, and this time I come out and bet 75. He takes about a half second longer than the first time and calls once more. So with 285 in, the river is another queen, giving me a full house. And things get better when he would lead out for 125. Playing 850 effective here, I raise it to 400. He does start to think about it for about 15 seconds, but settles on a pretty quick fold, and I'm not really sure what value hands he's going to bet fold that quickly with. I lose a couple of small pots, but I didn't feel too bad, as I would then watch top set get cracked a couple of hands later by a player who had flopped a flush. I would then see a post showcasing something I already knew. Christian McCaffrey's stat line from the Sunday night game against the Falcons. Can a player be carrying his team more than Christian McCaffrey has been this year for the 49ers? It's got to be tough. We would then get a hand that just seemed bizarre, and I'd get to find out why. It would happen when we would get a limp from under the gun and middle position. I am in the big blind with pocket 10s, and I make it 60 here, expecting under the gun to call and middle position to fold. The opposite occurs. So with 135 in, the board comes out ace, deuce 4 with 2 diamonds. I just go ahead and check, expecting him to bet it if he hit the ace, but he checks as well. Turn is an 8. I check once again, and this time he bets out for less than half the pot, making it 60. I give serious thought to folding here, but would decide not to. So with 255 in, the river is a 4, and I check for a third time. Good news is he checks behind, which should mean that I'm going to be good here a lot of the time, but the bad news is this was not one of those times, as he would reveal the pre-flop limp smooth call play was made with pocket kings, and I would miss an opportunity to turn my hand into a bluff when it probably would have worked. I would then see a reel showcasing a bridge for boats in the Netherlands. Now it's more like a tunnel for cars, but damn, that is an engineering marvel nonetheless. I pick up pocket queens under the gun +1 and make it 35. Hijack calls, small blind calls. So with 115 in, the flop is 10-6 deuce with 2 hearts. Small blind checks, and I bet out for 70. Mr. Z is the player in middle position, and he makes the call. And the dealer fails to realize the small blind is still in this hand, and he puts out a turn card that I would proceed to take a picture of. Now, that doesn't really mean anything. Small blind knows that card is going to have to be shuffled back into the deck here, but he was clearly giving it some thought and still decides that he's not folding yet. So the card is shuffled back into the deck, and we are still three ways with 325 into a turn, which comes the deuce of hearts. Much less ideal turn card than the last one we were going to get. Small blind checks, I check, and middle position bets out for 125, which actually results in the small blind folding. So, against a legendarily aggressive opponent, I'm not going to be folding here. But when you look at the way he's been playing over the course of this trip, he's not the same guy that we've seen in years past. Certainly has tightened up a decent amount. I call the 125, and with 575 in, the river is the 6 of spades. I check again, and he checks back, saying that he just has a 10. And despite that bizarre turn development, I would still win the pot. This is a mid-session update. If your casino is like my casino, then there is a good chance that there is a dealer who, every time you get to a heads-up pot, must say 2 youths. And there's probably another dealer that every time someone opens to 30, they must say dirty 30. And that is the end of the update. I'd flop 2 pair with 5, 6 of diamonds, but would lose to bomb pot blue when he'd make a flush, and that would precede this hand. One that really showcases the power of the straddle. In this case, a button straddle. Under the gun 1 starts off by calling that $20, and the hijack raises to $125. Straddle cold calls the 125, and I'm in the big blind with Wayne Gretzky. And I'm certainly seeing this flop. +1 would not see it, so it's 3 ways with 410 into a flop that is slightly above average. Hijack would bet out for 175 here, and the button would call the 175, and it's on me. I raise to an even 500 in this spot, leaving me with about 600 behind. Hijack folds, probably an overpair here, though I can't imagine he would have thrown away aces or kings with that much ease. The button, though, thinks about this, thinks a little more, and finally decides that he wants to see all 5 cards in this hand. He has me covered, but barely. The pot is $2,800, and we agree to run it twice, so I am going to be needing your help here. As it stands to reason, he's going to have some equity. You got to smash that like button in these big pots. You know the deal. I need all the help I can get. The dealer would put out 2 turns and 2 rivers, with half the pot going to the winner of each board. And as it would turn out, I'm winning both, as he reveals 3 6 of diamonds for a draw that missed twice, and we would stack a nice one. There are some instances in live poker where you can make a bet that isn't even that big compared to the size of the pot, but you are still making a huge bet. We get a $75 raise from the hijack, and I have pocket aces on the button and make it $225. Mr. Z is in the big blind, and to my amazement, cold calls the $225. Hijack completes as well, which obviously was going to happen at that point. So we are now 3 ways with 680 into a flop that comes out Jack 10-4 with 2 hearts. It gets checked to me, and with aces, I bet 300. So less than half the pot. Mr. Z grabs a stack of black chips and slides them in, making it 900. Hijack folds, and it's back on me. Now again, I didn't even bet half the pot. But those of you who are longtime live poker players understand. Those of you who are online grinders think I'm crazy. But a $300 flop bet in this hand is still a huge bet. And to get it raised is just not going to happen with a ton of hands. It's that simple. The only hands it's going to happen with that I can beat are ones that are going to have a lot of equity. And in this case, we block the nut flush draw, so we know it isn't that. I don't think he's smooth calling pre-flop with kings. I don't think he's raising queens here. Jack 10 feels unlikely given that pre-flop action, so that leaves pocket tens and pocket jacks. Both feel like the perfect candidates for him to call $225 before the flop with. But can I really fold? I'd have to give it some thought. $1,200 effective stacks are what we're dealing with now in this hand. The old version of this opponent is one that I don't think I can fold this hand to. But going back to what I was just saying, the new version, who now lives in Florida and plays a hell of a lot less and tighter when he does, is a guy that I think I can fold the hand to. I've been wrong before, and I might be wrong again, but I tossed the hand into the muck. Not convinced I was going to get a reveal, but sure enough I would. He would show pocket jacks for top set. So I would manage to limit the loss at $625 in what could have been a really bad hand for me. I'd win a couple of small pots after that and was kind of on my way out the door when I would end up seeing a flop with a 7-8 of spades in a single raised pot, and Mr. Z had not been the pre-flop raiser. I'd flop a flush draw on Queen Jack 4 with 2 spades, and my flop bet would get called before I would turn the flush. Turn bet would get called as well before the board paired on the river, and it turned out that Mr. Z had simply called a pre-flop single raise with pocket jacks. I guess there was some bonus about paying out 4 jacks for like $500 extra. I was going to lose money in this hand regardless, but that ridiculous bonus that was in effect actually resulted in me losing more than I was going to, because there's no way he plays pocket jacks in this manner if that bonus is not on. So I would lose about 500 in the hand as he would hit a full house on the river, and my 8-high flush certainly wasn't any good. But that was really the lone blemish of the last hour of play, as I'd rack up and book the win. All right, wrapping up the session, booking a win of $1,485 on a day where I actually thought I was going to win more than that if I didn't lose that hand flush against full house to Mr. Z after I was pretty much already done with the session, but sometimes those things happen. Some good action this week. I'm going to play a couple of more sessions, maybe record some short, and hopefully make the month of October, at the end of the day, a strong one. All right, so it ended up being a very good week for me. 3 sessions, 3 wins, all pretty good sized. But there's one more hand that you just got to hear about that was just one of the most memorable hands that I've played in quite some time. It would come against a very aggressive opponent, one who loves to play big pots and has shown up in big pots with hands that I can't even fathom at times, and has managed to win some big pots off of me and plenty of other people as a result of that. And I had to wonder, would this hand be one of those? It would come when we would get an under the gun 1 raise to 35. And this guy that I'm talking about would be in middle position. He'd make the call. I'm on his immediate left in the hijack with queens. I 3-bet this, and I 3-bet it big to 155. Folds all the way back around to the original raiser, who I thought was going to consider this. He ends up folding, and then it's on middle position. He thinks about this for longer than he usually does, and finally calls. So with 360 and we're heads up to 665, and he starts thinking again. Not going to check it over to me. He's going to go ahead and take the initiative. He bets 500, an overbet of the pot, just leading right out into me. And I do think that he's going to be somewhat balanced in that regard. I know that he's too smart of a player to never do that with a big hand, but he's also going to be doing it with a lot of draws and things of that nature. So certainly I'm not folding here. The question is, do I just raise right now? The effective stacks here are $1,500. He has basically the exact same amount of money in front of him as I do. So what's the play? I know he's capable of making crazy slow plays with aces and kings in spots like this. I've seen it before. I don't know how often he's going to actually be able to show up here with a 6, but it's more often than most players. So that leaves a lot of draws, and I certainly think that's where we're going to be a lot of the time here. So I figure, if he's got aces, got kings, got a 6, obviously I'm getting all the money in and I'm losing anyway. But there's going to be a lot of bluffs. I have to let him follow through on the turn here. So I just call the 500, certainly risking the possibility of a draw coming in and having to get the money in bad, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. So with 1,360 in the pot, the turn, I saw paint peel off the deck and I got kind of excited, but it was a jack. And now he does indeed follow through, betting all in for $1,000. I figured it was worth at least thinking about this, even though I'd pretty much already made up my mind that I was going to call. I actually asked him, there's no way you would do this with pocket aces, is there? Because I've seen some crazy stuff, but I then said, I'm making the call. So the pot is $3,400. He does not turn over his cards. And amazingly, the river is the queen of spades. So it completes the front door flush draw, but gives me a full house at the same time. But if you think I sucked out on this hand, I didn't. Because I wanted to see what he had to be able to tell you guys about it on the vlog, even though it wasn't on a day where I was actually shooting a proper vlog. He doesn't even show. He just mucks the hand, which certainly means that 7-8 was a likelihood there. But we will never even know. So I don't even need to table my cards, and I collect one of the biggest pots that I've won all year. By the way, if you enjoy getting to watch me get all in with a set against a draw in a very big pot, as you saw earlier in the vlog, guess what? You'll get a chance to do it again in a hand you haven't seen if you check out the latest short that's dropping this week. If you're watching this on Monday or Tuesday, you'll be seeing it on Wednesday. Trying to get myself more involved in the shorts game. I think I'm getting better at recording 9x16 video. Just a work in progress, a matter of practice for me in that regard. And we out here talking about practice, not the game. We're talking about practice. So I'm going to try to get one of those done per week going forward if I can as well, because obviously the shorts game is becoming a more and more popular thing. Hit those like and subscribe buttons. It's genuinely great for the channel. You can follow me on Instagram at bendeach. We'll see you back here next time.